Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for those that are joining us around the world. I'm Eric Bloem. I'm the Vice President of Corporate Citizenship at the Human Rights Campaign. I use he, him pronouns. It's really an honor to be here today to moderate this important and very timely conversation about the importance of collaboration between the private sector, civil society, and government. Workplaces and businesses have long been powerful drivers of positive change, advancing LGBTQI+ equality worldwide. However, each country's employers do not operate in a vacuum. Government has extraordinary influence in shaping the environments in which our employers function. It can accelerate progress in workplace inclusion, and sometimes it can hinder it, making collaboration between government, private sector, and civil society that much more important and essential for long-term success. As we strive for meaningful collaboration, we must be strategic and clear-eyed, understanding when we should be engaging with these key partners, when to challenge them, and when to push forward. That is the focus of our conversation today, to really unpack what does meaningful collaboration between government, civil society, and the private sector look like, what are the big barriers to success, and what are the advantages and challenges of these partnerships. So I'm excited for that conversation today. Before we begin, it's really critical to acknowledge the landscape in which we gather today. We are in a moment where forces opposed to equality and workplace inclusion are strong. Certainly here in the United States, we've seen a series of executive orders and legal maneuvers that are targeting so-called illegal DEI. They are targeting workplace protections and even fundamental civil rights. The current administration is threatening to investigate and even prosecute private sector businesses that work to support DEI initiatives. Across the world, we're seeing increase in censorship, crackdowns on activism, surge in policies, restrictive policies. Just in the last few weeks, we've seen actions in Ghana, in Turkey, and in Hungary. And now this all sounds very grim and dire, but I think that we must remember that we gather at a time with unprecedented progress in the fight for LGBTQI equality. We've seen dramatic expansion in legal protections for segments of the community. We've seen broader recognition of marriage equality. And many of those advancements were championed by the private sector, certainly because they were the right thing to do, but mostly because they made economic success. And that is essential to our conversation today, the business case for equality. We know that the business case for equality is strong, no matter the political environment in which any of our countries are operating right now. LGBTQI+ consumers worldwide have $1.4 trillion in consumer spending power. And we know that companies with strong commitments to DEI outperform with regard to innovation, employee retention, and consumer loyalty. So at the Human Rights Campaign, which is the US's largest LGBTQ+ advocacy group, we've been working with the private sector for well over 20 years now through our workplace equality program. The Corporate Equality Index has been one of the foundational tools in helping to shape the business case for LGBTQI+ equality for the private sector. And to be clear, when surveyed, 94% of US-based LGBTQI+ community members actually look to a score of 100 as the key expression of commitments to LGBTQI+ equality. Those are current and future workers and customers, so businesses are paying attention. And the progress has been remarkable. Since 2002, when we first put out the Corporate Equality Index, we had 13 companies scoring 100. And in this most recent iteration survey, the 2025 survey, we had 750 plus companies scoring 100. But this progress is not a foregone conclusion. It was bolstered and supported by established US civil rights law and civil rights law that continued to expand to include protections on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. It was supported by government committed to upholding the law through institutions like the US Department of Justice and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. However, this progress is now at risk. We are facing newly weaponized federal government that is really seeking to undermine LGBTQ+ equality and broader DEI efforts, intent on dismantling workplace inclusion. Despite these challenges, business understand that inclusion is essential to their success. Most recently, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, we saw a number of very, very prominent CEOs speaking out on the importance of workplace inclusion and the essential role that it played in having successful workplaces and businesses. So this is really, really important as we think about our strategies, as we think about our collaborations. We need to understand that there really is, the ground beneath us is moving in how businesses, how workplaces really approach workplace inclusion, and we must be flexible and nimble as we think about our collaborations and how we move forward. So I think with that, like obviously recognizing that each region, each country faces its own unique political, legal challenges, opportunities in advancing workplace inclusion. Today, really excited to have an incredible panel that are going to highlight 3 important perspectives in East Asia. I'm excited to be joined by 3 incredible leaders. Joyce Teng, Executive Director of Taiwan Equality Campaign, who will discuss how civil society and local governments have partnered to launch the Taiwan's LGBTQ Inclusive Workplace Index. Miriam Chu from the Department of Youth, Taipei City Government will highlight a women's leadership program aimed at fostering inclusive workplace. And then Mika Yakushi, from ReBit, will be joining us via pre-recorded video to share insights into a transgender career consultation effort in Japan. So with these, we're really excited to understand what successful collaboration looks like, what lessons can be applied globally, and how we can continue to strengthen our collective work. So for the next 40 minutes, we'll dive into each of these 3 different case studies and the work that you all are doing. And following that, we'll have take some questions